not a jovial introduction as always, but the reason being is because the sad news really went low about Diego Jota today. Um, I'm actually still in shock, mate. I'm not going to lie.
Well, I was on a job this morning, and my wife actually phoned me to tell me. She said she'd seen it as breaking news, and I was like, "Yeah, next joke, please." And she's, "No, I'm being deadly serious." I was just like, "Wow!" And like for somebody that you're watching the Premier League, we've seen for what, about 8 seasons now. When he first joined Wolves, I just had a lump in my throat, and I was just like, "Why have I got a lump in my throat for a guy that I don't personally know?" But I think it's when you're involved in that sort of sport, like obviously, as you know, I play myself, it's always what you feel like not attached, but that's the wrong word, but like you're in the same association. So like you feel it a bit more than you would if it was just somebody you don't know, which is really strange.
Yeah, so I was at work and they had it on the Sky News on the screen, and I kept walking past it, and it was Diego Jota was on the screen, and all I kept thinking to myself was, it must be the sports part. Who's he being linked with? And it wasn't until we walked past like the third time I finally stopped and read the headline. I was like, what? And like you said, you had a lump. I had a lump in my throat. I didn't know. I mean, I messaged you. I messaged somebody else. I went, I'm actually. I can't believe it now. This is wrong. This isn't happening. No. But like you said, he didn't play for us. We didn't know him personally. I just, I don't know.
One thing I'll say is every time I've seen him play at Villa Park, whether that be for Wolves or for Liverpool, I've always been impressed with him. He conducts himself in the right manner on the pitch.
Yeah.
He scores goals. He is an absolutely cracking player, but at 28 to lose your life, he doesn't. It's not even worth thinking about.
No. I mean,
It's
we're both older than that, mate, and that's scary, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's sort of a kick up the backside for everyone that sits there dwelling about should I do this, should I do that, should I take this risk, should I not. You've got to live every day as it's your last because who knows what's around the corner.
Yeah. I mean, listening to Talksport on the way home, his name's gone out my head, but I had it in my. They were saying he was a former Liverpool player, and he was saying he's had the best 5 weeks of his life. You know, he won the Premier
Yeah.
League, he won the um, European thing with Portugal, then he got married, and now it's,
I mean, the big one for me is 28. Like I say, is no age to you lose your life in any circumstances. But to have just got married 10 days ago and to be leave behind three children that have got to be under eight, I'd say, if he's only 28,
yeah.
my heart bleeds for him because that's horrible.
I
That is
mean,
horrible.
I mean, people will probably, like we said earlier, people will probably say you didn't know him, but we're both fathers. You know, we're both husbands. It's just you sort of go for that personal of, you know, how I'd feel, how
Definitely.
it's. I mean, the only time I've ever been affected like this for a footballer passing away was Gary Speed, and
Yeah.
it really did affect me. Um, and from what everybody I've spoken to who's watched him play or has met the man, they all said he was a footballer in a generation of superstars.
Yeah.
You know, he wanted to play the game. I mean, like you said, when he's played at Villa, whether it be for Liverpool or whether it be for Wolves, when he got the ball, it was not a case of Diego Jota's on the ball. It was, hang on, Diego Jota's on the ball, and
He made things happen with the ball, which was nice. He wasn't big headed, he wasn't arrogant. He was just someone that you could see loved the game, trained extremely hard. And don't get me wrong, I mean, he's had some injuries for his career, but every time he's come back, he's not moaned about not being in the selection. He's been sat on a bench, he comes off the bench, he scores a goal, he puts himself about, and you're looking and you're going, do you know what? He's got to be one of the most underrated footballers that's ever been spoke about. Because for me, everything he does, his attitude and his application is spot on.
yeah, it's such a shame. It really is not secondary because of the. It's a shame that we've lost such a great football, but firstly that his wife's lost her husband and the kids have lost their dad and uncle as well. You know, let's not forget his brother was in the car as well.
Yeah,
He was a promising footballer as well.
As bad as it sounds, what I'm about to say is you've got all that suffering going on there, but you know who the one who suffers the most in this? The mom. She's lost both her sons.
For sons, yeah.
I mean, it's bad enough losing one kid, let alone both. I can't even begin to think of what she's going through, what she's feeling.
No, it's so yeah. It's. I mean, we just wanted to like open this up by the, rest in peace to Diego Jota and. I know they're not going to probably watch this podcast, but condolences to the family, really, and anybody who knew, because all day I've listened to Talk Sport, and all day I've heard different people say great things. Nobody's actually said a bad word about him. I know usually people go when somebody passes away, nobody's ever got a bad word, but even when he was alive, nobody had a bad word about the Diego Jota. Like you said, he came into a team during COVID which had Salah, Firmino up front, and somebody else. I can't think who the other person was, and you're like, well, how are you going to get into that? And he thought
Mane was the other person.
Mane, that's it, yeah, because it was
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, and he was amazing, mate. He really was. He's such a great player. I mean, his last goal, sadly to say, his last goal, for Liverpool was against Everton, and it was a winner in front of the Kop.
Yeah. I mean, I've got his stats here for since he started playing. So 302 appearances, 102 goals. Started off at Pacos de Ferreira in Portugal, 2014 to 16. 41 appearances, 14 goals. So again, backs up the theory of everywhere he goes, he scores goals. That's one thing about him. 2016 to 2018, signed for Atletico Madrid. Unfortunately, never ever played for them, but was on loan at Porto, where he made 27 appearances with 8 goals. Then was on loan to obviously Wolves in the Championship, helped win the Championship with Wolves,
Yeah.
crucial part to their season. 44 appearances, 17 goals. Signed for Wolves on a permanent, was there for 2 years from 2018 to 2020. 67 appearances, 16 goals. So goals started drawing up at Wolves, but again, he still took his part, assists up there as well. And then moved to Liverpool in 2025 for, I think, about £41 million, I remember, off the top of my head, somewhere like that.
It was a big money,
123 appearances and 47 goals for Liverpool. Obviously, also been capped under 19s, under 21s, under 23s, and at the senior level for Portugal, where, like as you said, he's won UEFA Nations League in 2019 and 2025. I mean, it's a career in a short space of time that is absolutely glittering.
yeah,
And it's a shame that just coming into his peak years now, where that
yeah,
performance would have been vital, he's now not going to get to play out the best years of his career.
yeah. It's it's going to be weird not seeing his name when you watch Matches of Sky next year when they do the team names.
Yeah.
And I think Stephen Warnock brought it up earlier on Talk Sport. I think they should retire the number 20 shirt.
See, I'm in and ahhing about this one. I believe as a kind gesture, it would be the right thing to do. However, that being said, and this is no disrespect to Diogo Jota, he's only been there 5 years.
Yeah, I suppose.
If this was Steven Gerrard or Jamie Carragher and they're on about retiring them shirts, I'd be like, yeah, 100% for it. They've spent their whole entire existence at Liverpool.
Yeah,
But can you retire a shirt number for a guy as good as he was and as influential as he was, who's only spent 5 years at a club?
yeah, I suppose when you look at it that way. I mean, the way I heard it get put across was he helped win Liverpool's 20th title.
Yeah.
He played number 20, and I thought, yeah, that would be a nice option. Not, never to give, unless say like his son ever came and played for Liverpool, then yes, give it to his son.
It's it's a tough one because like I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. It's tough, and like in the moment of obviously all this being fresh and only happening today, you will get some people say some really obscene and some mad statements that you would never normally hear. But again, it's I don't know. Is it the right thing? Is it the wrong thing? Only time will tell. But my understanding is I don't think me personally I wouldn't want a shirt retired for a player that's only been at a club 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, people will probably say that today and then say give it a few days when it's all not not calmed down. I don't think that's the right word, but when they finally had time to process what's gone on, they might think, okay, actually, we might have made uh, a judgment more with the heart than the head.
Yeah.
You know.
I think people just want him to be remembered, and rightfully so, because, as I said, exceptional footballer.
Oh, great
And I think there's better ways to remember someone than just retiring a shirt number.
yeah.
But yeah, again, if Liverpool did come out and retire his shirt number, I wouldn't be shocked and be up in all going, oh, that's out of order, because that'd be the decision.
Yeah, yeah,
Be interesting to get some of the guys' thoughts that obviously watch the podcast,
yeah,
listen to the podcast to see what their view on it is. Because again, like I said, there's no right or wrong answer in this situation. It's personal preference. So
it's
be
opinion.
interesting to get some feedback.
Yeah, it's definitely opinions. So yeah, we just wanted to open up for the podcast really. First one we're going to be putting on YouTube as well. With just like a nod really to Diego Jota, his career and his sad passing. Me and Louis had actually spoken just after the last podcast we did about what we were going to do, and we were going to do the under-21s winning the Euros, but after today we thought it might be a bit insensitive. So we're going to put that back for another day. So listening to everybody's comments today, people I've spoken to, people I've listened to on the radio, they've all said that like Diego Jota was like a hero. So just as a spur of the moment, we decided to do our sporting heroes, who people we idolised in the world of sport. It doesn't have to be football or Formula One, it could be anything. I know Lewis loves all sports. um, so I mean, I've got a few different sports down here. I mean, so do we just shout names out? Do we go through different sports and then? Or...
I mean, we can do. I mean, I've got what have I got down here? I've got one, two, three. I've got four sportsmen. Well, I've got four that aren't related to my team, my club.
Mhm.
I've got one for my club, and then I've got a lad that I will mention towards the end that used to be involved in sport but isn't now.
Okay.
But he's probably he's the star one for me because you'll understand when we get there of why I'm saying it as well.
Okay. And like I said, guys, we literally just spur of the moment, like what 30 minutes ago, just announced
Yeah.
we were going to do this. And we spent hours chatting about changing the subject, obviously, because of what happened today. So I mean, have you got a Formula One driver that you idolised growing up?
I got a few to be fair, but like hero wise, let's say I grew up watching obviously Schumacher's obviously the most obvious one for a lot of people, you know. I liked Alan Prost, John Lacey, but like when you look back and you see further adrift, obviously a lot of people will say Ayrton Senna, unbelievable driver, and again someone that sadly lost his life in a sport, doing what he loved.
Yeah.
But mine is my hero in F1 is Nicky Lauda.
Nicky Lauda, okay.
Yeah, to go through
Very lucky, yeah.
everything he went through, being on fire, put out, to still recovering and being an influential person today,
Yeah.
that takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of character, and you know the amount of people that probably around you that think that's it, you're done, no more. For me, that shows a lot about his quality of life, of him as a person.
Yeah.
So my Formula One would be Nicky Lauda.
I mean, just a quick side note for anybody who doesn't watch Formula One. If you ever get a chance to watch anything about Nicky Lauda, watch a film called Rush.
Oh, brilliant film.
Brilliant film.
Brilliant.
So, but Nicky Lauda, his crash, everything, it's amazing. And the guy who plays Nicky Lauda is spot on. It's
It's
scary.
actually it is actually scary how alike it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
very.
I mean, I'm gonna be the obvious one for my Formula One. First, actually, I've got a few. I'm not gonna lie, but so JB Jenson Button, I idolised him. Always did ever since he came in. Heinz Howard Frentzen, there's another one that I could put into the conversation, but for me, it has to be Michael Schumacher.
Okay.
From the days when he came in with Jordan to Benetton, then Ferrari, and when he even came back with Mercedes, I was really excited. All right, he only got one victory, but I was so excited to see him and Nico Rosberg together.
It's yeah. See that one for me, like I say, I think that'd be a lot of people's choice. But like, I don't. For me, I don't think he's a hero. He's somebody I idolised,
Yeah,
but for me, he wouldn't be my hero.
yeah. So you know, Nicky Lauda is a very, very good shout. Like you said, everything he did, he come back after his accident. After what was it? Weeks of having his throat and lungs sucked, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Again, most people in that situation, would just decide that, okay, I've done the job I love. I've had an accident. I'm just gonna play it safe now. And he just didn't. There was no fear factor to him, and that's what I love.
he came back and raced one race, didn't he? He didn't
Yes.
finish the race, but he proved he could still race.
Yeah, and I think that's what, like, again, it shows character.
Yeah. Do you have a cricketing idol
I
hero?
don't. I like cricket, but I, I got idols, but not a hero.
Okay.
So
Who's your idols?
my biggest idol was Kevin Peterson. To be fair,
Ooh, okay.
the
Good.
South African Englishman. Yeah.
He can hit the ball.
Brian Lara was another one.
Yeah.
I think he was a very good batsman.
Yeah.
Obviously, Grandad being from the Windies, it was always on. Didn't get really much choice to watch it. But yeah, I mean, there's a few cricketers that have been. Um, here's an old one for you, Sean Pollock. Do you remember him from
Oh, the South
Australia?
African captain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
here's another one. So yeah, this and then obviously, to be fair, if we're gonna go heroes, I'd probably go Shane Warne.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything he touched with a ball just seemed to go
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
He was absolutely incredible.
See, I became a spin bowler at cricket because of Shane Warne. He's not my.
Okay.
He's a hero, but he's not my idol. My idol is actually Joe Root.
Root is a good. I think Rooty will go down as the best English cricketer ever in my eyes.
The best English captain ever.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote a piece when I was at college about sports, and I was like, "Is Joe Root the best?" And I made arguments for it and against it, and reading them all about him, watching him, I was just like, "Yep, you are what I want to be. Somebody who hits the ball when he can, and somebody can bowl as well."
Yeah. Him and Ben Stokes, I think, are the two players that will be remembered for a long time,
Yeah,
very long time.
like so the Brian Lara as well, mate. I mean, my dad took me to Edgbaston when Brian Lara hit that 500.
Unreal.
You know, it was in one day as well, so it wasn't even like we went for multiple days. He was like, "Ooh,
There was just something about him. He just a bit like Schumacher, once he was there and they had that oomph, so to speak, it was like, right, well, I'm gonna do everything I can now and I'm gonna take this game away from everybody and I'm gonna make it about me. And
mate,
that's hard to do sometimes in a team sport, but there's individuals that do that very well.
yeah, yeah." Right, next sport I had down, mate, was one of your favourites, boxing.
Yes.
For
So
me, there's just one all out. I have no others. I'm not gonna lie.
go on then.
Joe Calzaghe.
You've got exactly what's on my list, mate.
Oh mate, he was amazing. He was underrated as well.
Do you know what frustrates me when people talk about boxing greats?
Hmm,
Hardly anybody mentions Joe Calzaghe.
one of the
He's
greats.
got a 46-0 record, and nobody mentions him. That is like, how do you not?
No, because when you say boxing, people always go Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, George Foreman, Lennox Lewis, David Haye. You know, they come up with all these really, really no great boxers. Don't get me wrong, but and everybody, I mean, Tyson Fury, people mention him as a great boxer, but Joe Calzaghe, why not? Why?
Yeah, see,
Welsh. You know,
I'd put Muhammad Ali in there. I
yeah,
think what
he's up
he
there.
did, again, another character on his own right, did what he wanted, wasn't scared to say no to someone. So when you look at those kind of qualities in a person, you can admire them. But for me, it's Joe Calzaghe all day long. He was just incredible. He's very humble. He's a family man. Like nothing about for a sport where you get in a ring and you punch people for a living. He just doesn't come across as that kind of guy.
Yeah. See, there's that Scouse boxer. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. He comes across as a really humble bloke, and he's a family man. I can see his face. I just can't think of his name. Yeah, I know
Liam
football.
Smith.
That's him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's one of four brothers, isn't he? So, and all of them box.
Oh, okay. I
So,
knew. I didn't know
yeah,
about him.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's not a bad boxer. He's another one. He's he's involved in a sport he loves and he gets on with it. He's not interested in trying to make himself better than somebody else. He just wants to do his job, get in the ring, and you have to give credit to that.
Yeah. I mean, Manny Pacquiao probably made it up there into my conversation as well.
Okay.
But I don't know. I just didn't see enough of him. Whereas Joe Calzaghe, it was always on. I think it was Channel 5 at the time. We're showing the boxing, so it was
Yeah.
always Joe Calzaghe fights, and I was like, "Ooh, he's actually really good."
Yeah, I've not been privileged enough to meet him yet. However, I have got a signed book by him that one of my friends who owns a boxing gym met him and got it for me. So yeah,
Wow.
so
Yeah.
yeah,
If I ever got the chance, mate, I'd be like, Louis, let's go.
yeah, 100%.
So my next one was football, but do you want to leave that to a bit later?
Um,
No, because I know you're gonna have a few.
to be fair, in football, like I said, I've got one for Villa and one/2 others that
Okay.
just
All right,
like
we'll go football then.
so. My one for Villa, and people laugh when I say this, is still in Petrov, and not necessarily for what he did while he had the ball. It was what he did off the ball.
Yeah.
His positioning. He would put himself in a place, say, well, I'll tell you what, you aren't going to be able to play through me. You're going to have to go out to the wing and you're going to have to come around me.
Yeah.
So everything, even back to his Celtic days, he was a player that people listened to. He was influential. He understood the game. He was very knowledgeable. And then when he had that cancer scare, that was just like, wow. And I was just like, I hope he pulls through this.
Yeah.
And as we know, he did. And I'm sure we had a conversation about it when he got told he could come back to play football. And I think I remember saying to you how angry I was at the club that they wouldn't give him a 1 year extension to play his last year.
Yeah,
I was,
he came back for one match, didn't he? Like a friendly,
yeah,
and he played
I
amazing.
was, I was a bit back at the time. Again, it was probably instinct. I was angry with the club. I was fuming that how can my club have a player that's done this for them? He's been influential. Everyone loves him, and we won't give him a 1 year contract. When you look back now and you think, obviously, the Christian Eriksen situation, another one that pulled through,
Yeah.
different to cancer, but has it taken its toll on him? And would it have made Stilian Petrov worse? Do you know what I mean by that?
Would he have been able to play more than 60 minutes, sort of thing?
Yeah.
Whereas Ericsson, it was like Ericsson came back and played like 50 minutes, didn't he? When he came
Yes.
back. It's like
I
Peter
think
Whittingham.
when you've got players that you admire, I think the sentiment creeps into, I want that to happen. I want him to have one last hurrah. And sometimes that one last hurrah isn't best for the player, isn't best for the club. So I look back now and I get it. But yeah, he's my Villa hero.
See, Petrov was a good shout for me, but my Villa hero was Emil Heskey.
Oh wow.
I'll explain why. I mean, right, I'm a big lad. Heskey was a big lad. We were never the most athletically fit, yet I used to give 100% on the pitch, and so did he.
Yeah.
And he used to go overlooked, really, like I said to you the other week, where Villa fans used to go, oh, he's not in the penalty area. No, because he's got the ball back at the opposite end of the field. Now he's tanking his way back. But for me, when we signed Heskey, there was a lot of raised eyebrows from people I knew. But for me, it was probably one of the best things we ever did.
Yeah, no, I mean his work rate, and okay, he didn't score as many goals for us as he did earlier on in his career at Leicester and Liverpool. But you know what? Again, you can't knock what he did and his work rate. You just can't. I got no hard feelings against him whatsoever.
Nah, I mean, the other person that made it into my conversation was Paul McGrath.
Again, yeah, that would be
I think that'd
another
be an
shout.
obvious choice.
See,
That'd be the obvious choice for Villa
there's
fans.
quite a few you could with your own club, like you could name so many, and like for me, also in with the shout was Daly and Atkinson
Oh,
because he was the first striker I grew up watching.
yeah.
Some of the goals he scored, and Tony Daly's another one. Obviously, I've played football with Tony Daly, which is bizarre. Grew up watching Brian Little, absolute terrific player. I've played, and Brian Little's managed the team I've played in for charity. Those moments for me mean so much. And again, they're people that I looked up to that call me on a first name basis now, and it's just like, what? How? And it's mind blowing. It really
Ever
is.
told you I'm jealous, mate?
Oh, Dave, yeah, it's
I
it's
mean, the first striker I can ever remember. You come with some great players, but the first striker's name that I ever could ever give back to you was Savo Milosevic.
yeah. So he was after Atkinson. So we had Atkinson and Saunders were the first two. When obviously born in '87, I didn't start watching football in '87, but about 93, 94 was the first time I'd actually sat down and thought, well, do you know what? I actually want to watch football. I want to support a team. And obviously, dad being a Villa fan, that's
Yeah,
how
me
it
too.
came from. But yeah, I mean, back in that day, I mean, that team from '94, some players in there. And then, like I say, I always wanted to, as a kid, as you know, everybody wants to play up front. You want to score goals. You don't want to do the horrible bits. You want to be the clinical striker. And that's how it was. So I was watching Saunders, Atkinson, Graham Fenton, Savo, and you just looked and I was just like, wow, these players can strike a ball. Some of these goals are fantastic. And, you try and recreate them at school with your mates. And yeah, but it was, like I say, it's heroes with your own team. I think it's difficult because like you idolise so many players
Yeah,
over the years, don't you? And I think that's where you sort of get caught between what's an idol and what's a hero.
yeah. See, you was on about recreating goals at school. Everybody
Yeah.
tries to recreate Paul Gascoigne. I was always trying to do Rosie Carlson's free kick.
Oh, no.
Outside the goal and in.
Yeah, it is mad. But yeah, it's moving on to football in general. My heroes are two players that I get quite a lot of criticism for being a Villa fan.
Go on.
I could never buy another shirt because I would never do that to my club. I love the Villa. I would never wear another shirt that's Premier League or English.
Yeah.
So I decided to buy a Dutch shirt with Burkamp on the back and a French shirt with Henry on the back.
Two great
Those are
strikers,
my
mate.
two
Two great
idols and
strikers.
hit.
So you didn't pick the Arsenal shirt they were in, no, you just picked their country shirts.
Yes.
Oh, mate.
I
So,
used the brain for a second there. I thought I can't wear an Arsenal shirt being a Villa fan. That's just not. It goes against everything I believe in.
Dennis
But so
Bergkamp.
yeah, I went with internationals.
That goal against Man United where he flicks it up
Oh,
underneath it.
unreal.
Oh,
And do you know what the worst thing is? Like, for a player, like, as we know, not many players come to the Premier League from abroad and make a statement. Henry and Burkamp were just, together, they were just majestic.
yeah.
And I've always said, and people laugh when I say this, Arsenal would have won a Champions League if Dennis Burkamp wasn't scared of flying. I'm 100% sure on that.
He was afraid, wasn't he?
Yeah.
See, I listened to a podcast the other day, and I can't remember who it was. I think it might have been Simon Jordan, and he was talking to an agent, a retired agent, and he said, like Simon Jordan said to him, he said, "Is there anybody you can tell us that played for a Premier League team that should have gone elsewhere?" And he went, "Dennis Bergkamp." He said Dennis Bergkamp was meant to go and join Chelsea. Chelsea then went, "Actually, we can't afford Dennis Bergkamp," and Dennis Bergkamp went to Arsenal.
And do you know when we go on about things and we say things happen for a reason?
Yep.
I believe that happened for a reason because Chelsea back then weren't the Arsenal. And I don't think Chelsea back then had a clinical enough striker like Henry where Bergkamp and his, I'm going to say telepathy, because that's all it was. Like, they didn't even look for each other. They didn't care where each other were. It was like, right, Henry knew that once that ball come to Bergkamp, it was getting put in this part of the pitch and he had to be there. And that's how he scored so many goals. And when I was, what did I watch? I watched the 200, I think it was 200 Club with Henry, and they interviewed him. There's like, oh, like, why did you score so many goals? And he went, there's only one answer. It's simple. And they went, what's that? He went, Dennis Bergkamp. And that's all he said. That was all he said. And when you look back at most of the goals he scored while Bergkamp was on that pitch, the brilliance of Bergkamp and the finishing of Henry was just incredible.
Yeah, I mean, you had some good strikers there. Then you had Anelka, was it just before he left?
Yeah.
Sylvan Viltord, Kanu was there. Not even going to try and pronounce his first name, so I don't want to get that in trouble.
Overmars, Petit,
Emile Petit,
Ashley Cole, Vieira,
Jans Lehmann.
It's a team that you just look at and you go, filled with talent.
I think we go back to what we said the other day, where we was like, you could name so many players from your own team, but there's certain teams you can get to a certain position and go, Arsenal is probably one of them teams you could name a player for every position.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Arsenal, Man U, Villa, maybe Newcastle. I think I could do.
I'm going to upset some of the listeners right now as well. Slightly off topic. You know, when everyone goes on about this debate of who was better as a manager between Arsene Wenger and Sir Alex Ferguson. I'm in the Arsene Wenger camp all day long. Don't get me wrong, but Fergie, for longevity, silverware, trophies, can't knock him. 100% he wins that. But as a manager with an impact, for me, it's Arsene Wenger. I think he was a better tactician. I really do.
Yeah, I just think Fergie had a better team. Given footwards, whereas Arsene sort of built that team. Not even just built it, he just, like you said, the Henry and Bergkamp thing, click, you're there. You know, Mark Overmars, nobody'd ever heard of him before he come to the Premier League.
Nah. I mean, that team is just full of talent, weren't it? Yeah. No matter who Arsene Wenger brought in at that time, they just seemed to click with the team. It seemed to work.
Yeah. I mean, George Graham started to bring in some players, then he left for Arsene Wenger to come in and just, like the Gerrard and Emery thing, same team.
Yeah.
Just differently.
And again, this is where it comes down to sometimes man management and tactics and how you deliver a session to somebody. And obviously, coaching myself, it can be a ball ache. Like I said, I've got under 16. My lads go to under 16s this year, and then my youngest one's under. He should be under 8, but plays a year above himself, so we'll be playing under 9s this year. So he goes to 7-a-side for the first time, and like trying to coach 7-year-olds and 8-year-olds is totally different to coaching 16s. So the 16s will stand there and let you talk for 2-3 minutes. Yeah. You've got that much time with them. When you've got 7 and 8-year-olds, you've probably got about 20-30 seconds of their time to give them an instruction. So you have to make sure it's clear and it's relative to what you want. There's no point trying to have a 2-minute conversation because they only remember the last 20 seconds. So it is difficult, and I think that's what makes a good coach. You've got to understand the audience of what you're trying to deliver to.
Yeah. I mean, my player outside of the Villa was Robbie Carlos.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a free kick taker. He was the best free kick taker I'd ever seen in my life. Like I said, that goal where he bent it out, was it
France, 98? Yeah.
And he called it out further than the goal and it went back. Like I said, all my mates were trying to do the Gaza goal and there was me trying to do a free kick.
Yeah, no, there's some goals, literally, like you say, and everyone's do you know what's weird? Back in the day, you look at players that you idolised, and 9 times out of 10, most people would pick a striker. Yeah. I think if you were to ask that question in today's society, I don't think you'd get that many people picking strikers. You get some, but I think you'd get people picking midfielders and defenders.
There's not many strikers really you can name off the top of your head. Whereas midfield, you can go to.
Yeah, and I think that's just how the game's changed. Literally.
Yeah. I mean, my final. See, both of them were my heroes. This man was my idol, and that was Gary Speed.
Yeah.
Because just for the teams he played for, he made them better.
Oh, 100%. And that Bolton team he was a part of. I mean, you look at Bolton and people go, nah, Bolton. That team Speed was part of Fernando Hierro, JJ Okocha, UC Askelainen. I mean,
Kevin
come
Nolan.
on. Even Campo, Kevin Nolan, Big Sam at the helm. You know,
Watch that free kick against Villa, mate. There you go. When he went the wrong side of the wall.
do you know who else we missed out of that team? Yuri Djorkaeff, World Cup winner.
Oh yeah. Man, that was. Oh. Do you know what? We need to go back to the 98, 99 season. That was
Oh,
the best season ever.
it is ridiculous, yeah.
But yeah, Gary Speed. And then when he went to Wales as well, and Wales were, no disrespect to anybody who's going to listen from Wales, but they were poor. And he went to that
Yeah,
team and got them qualified. They qualified. Well, did they qualify?
it did, yeah.
Yeah.
I think he was the first person to sort of give them that bit of leash of life to let them know that, you know what, anything is possible. Don't matter where you come from, don't matter who you're playing against, but if you believe in your heart of hearts, you can compete and are better, you give yourself every chance.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I don't know, mate. Like I said to you earlier with the opening, it was the only last time where I've really got a lump in my throat and gone, nah, this can't be, April Fool's happy.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking it was watching Sky Sports when one of the presenters was saying, like, he'd sent him a text message saying, like, I've just heard a sick rumour going around, hope it's not true. He said, and he never got a text back.
Yeah.
And he broke down on TV and it was just like, yeah. But
So
once again,
it's
mate, he
always,
was just a great midfielder. He was just a
yeah.
brilliant midfielder.
But again, like, I don't even think, like, footballing wise, ability, it was that good. I think it was a workhorse.
Yeah.
He would go around, he would clatter people, he would play a pass, he would score. He was just an all-round player that you wanted on your team. And as much as it hates me to say this, there's another player who's just like that, but I can't stand him, and that's Robbie Savage.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't
No,
stand
yeah,
him, but
you know what? As my
on
dad
a
would
pitch,
call it, old school wrestler,
yeah.
old school footballer.
But yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Robbie Savage.
Oh, God.
Roberto Carlos and Robbie Savage in the same 5 minutes.
Ish. Debatable. Oh, God.
Nah, Robbie
But yeah.
Savage. He was a good captain when he was at the Blues. I'll give him that. But I still say the best thing that ever happened to him was Dion Dublin dropping his nut on him.
Oh,
With a broken
100%.
neck too.
100%.
Oh, did you have anybody else? You said you had one more, but
Yeah, I did, and it's in the tennis world, to be fair, and I can't pick between them, but the two heroes there that, obviously, Greg Rosetsky, Tim Emman, everyone will mention people like that. Mine's not even English, which is really weird, and it's Novak Djokovic and Roger Federer. I just think those two people, they play tennis, they're not arrogant, they get beat, there's no excuses. Oh yeah, he beat me today, he was better than me, this was good, that was good. It's never, oh, I was poor, I handed in the game, and just their mannerisms in general. They are what you want sports people to be.
yeah, for me, mine was Roger Federer from the tennis world. Just unbelievable player.
Yeah.
Most tennis players they do come from a little bit of money, whereas Federer didn't. Like Novak Djokovic, he didn't come from money. He just worked hard on.
Yeah.
On
And this is what, as you
like that.
know, my famous saying is hard work and talent are two different things, but hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Yeah, agreed, mate. I actually agree with that. But he just It's like everyone that Rafa Nadal retired, if the whole world sort of gave him his props. When Roger Federer sort of bowed out quietly, he didn't get as big as a hurrah, I think. That makes
I
sense.
don't
He was
know. I
always
think I
equally to
think
me.
between Nadal, Djokovic, and Federer, I don't think you'll find three better tennis players. I really don't.
No.
The slams they've won between them are ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, sort of today at work between Sky News and BBC got flicking, and somebody was watching the tennis, and Djokovic destroyed the Great British bloke today. But
Oh yeah,
he was brilliant. I
Dan
can't,
Evans.
Dan Evans is a great player, but no, nowhere near. Like you said, hard work, and even he admitted he needs to work harder.
Definitely. There's a podcast we'll have to do at some point in the season, and I discuss it quite a lot with a few people. It's like footballers and do they dine at the top table? As
Oh,
in,
that'd
like, are
be
they
interesting.
elite?
That'd
So
be a
that's a
great
podcast we could do.
Yeah.
But yeah, so going back to the heroes, obviously, like I said that he was involved in football, obviously came away from football. He's probably had the worst, I'd say, 18 months to 2 years of his life ever, but yet still seems to keep pushing on to be better. And that's Ashley Kane. His daughter was Azalea Kane. Had I can't remember what she had. Basically, she had a disease. She died at a really young age, and being parent yourself, like to lose one of your kids at a young age, like mentally, I couldn't even begin to think of how you recover, how you carry on.
Yeah.
But this guy has used her legacy and built it to something that's incredible that like everybody now knows who Ashley Kane is. And he does it all for his daughter. He's ran marathons, ultra marathons,
Oh yeah,
and
I know you're on about now. Yeah.
he just like when like sometimes in like you wake up in the morning, you go, Joe, I can't be asked, and you start moaning about stuff, and I sit there and I see something with him, and I'm like, what am I moaning about?
Yeah.
I've got no right to moan
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah. We all do it though, don't we? We all wake up and go, it's
Yeah,
raining outside. I'm not going to go walk to the shop or get in the car. Where this man's like running like multiple marathons right after each other.
but yeah, he's somebody that like I'd say like hero status definitely.
Yeah. I mean, somebody who I don't know if you listened to Jason Robinson's interview the other day, the ex-rugby player, the ex-England international.
Yes.
He's my hero in rugby. I know everybody will go for Johnny Wilkinson or Martin Johnson or anything like that, but Jason Robinson came from an abusive parents to being in care to having nothing to having everything, and now he's giving it back.
Yeah.
And for me, not only was he a fantastic player, he was the player I wanted to be at rugby at school, but I was awful, so I chose cricket. Um, and just to what he's like, you said, what Kane's doing now, what he's doing now is just giving it all back. Because I think one of his statements in his interview was, "If I didn't get this, I'd be dead." He said, "And I don't want kids to be dying when they've actually got a talent that they can nurture and use."
It's it's weird, isn't it? Because like you say, I think sometimes in life we all think we're strong. We all claim to be strong, but you don't actually know what strong is until strong is the only option you have.
Yeah,
And I think that's where Ashley Kane got to, because to go through caring for your daughter, knowing that at some point she's going to pass away. I'm sure she was only 7. I mean, yeah, that's like me losing my youngest son now. I couldn't even, I just couldn't even think about it, to be honest. That's just like, no. But yeah, he's like, he grieved, obviously, he had the funeral. But since then, all he's done is contribute towards her legacy and make sure that nobody forgets who she is.
that's good. That's great.
And I mean, like, you have to give someone credit, because mentally, that has to be tough.
Yeah,
You want to grieve, you want to hide away. He's not done any of that. He's put himself in the limelight. He showed his vulnerabilities. He showed how weak he can be, how strong he can be,
Yeah.
and yet all while pushing this and raising money for the cause. And it's just like, do you know what? I take my hat off to the guy.
Yeah, I know. I mean, you know yourself when you're doing something, you don't think of something, but when he crosses that finish line, he's got to be thinking straight away. You know, like you said, it doesn't even worth thinking, does it really?
No, it
Um,
doesn't. And this is what I mean. Like we've got people in the world that moan about, why is it raining today? And I sit and we've done it ourselves. Like for God's sake, look at the weather. And you sit there and you go, what right do I have to criticise the weather when people are dealing with losing kids, losing family members, can't afford to eat, and we're sitting here moaning about stuff that like we're in a privileged position for?
Absolutely. I mean, it reminds me of a footballer called Billy Sharp,
Yes.
Sheffield United player. He lost his son. I think it was his son who was like 1 day old, 2 days old, something like that. A day later, he played for Sheffield United and scored. And he took off his shirt to reveal like his message to his son. And the referee, for the first time, and give the props to the referee, didn't book him.
And rightfully so.
But the next day, I then found out Carlos Tevez didn't want to play for Man City because he didn't feel like it.
Again,
And
egos.
it
And
annoyed
this
me.
is But this is where you've got people that are egos and people that, again, Billy Sharp just loves playing football.
Mhm.
He used the grief of his son to be better at football and dedicate what he done. Jay Stansfield's another one who's at the
Yeah,
Blues.
God, yeah,
Do you know what I mean? That story is like unheard of.
yeah,
But you know what? You have to, and rivalries aside, you look and you go, do you know what? Fair play to that lad. Fair play to him.
yeah. It's just I mean, sometimes, like we said earlier, with the Diego Jota thing, it doesn't matter whether you support whatever team you support, West Brom, Villa, Everton, things like this, you put rivalries aside.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
that little lad who was a Blues nose.
Arthur Labinho Hughes.
Do you know what? Put it aside. I mean, I think it was a Villa match, and I think it was his age or something like that. And on that minute, they actually stopped the match,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we just all applauded. And then afterwards, like we were all talking about it and said, "You wouldn't get that in anything else," You know,
But when it comes to something like that, like football has no place. That comes way before any football, any rivalries, any banter.
yeah,
It just doesn't like. There's certain things communities come together for, and death is certainly one of them.
yeah, agreed. There's just like like the Christian Eriksen thing. Yes, he scored a penalty against us on the last game of the season, and I was not happy to see that, but I was happy to see him play again.
Yeah.
For some unknown reason, BBC didn't cut away from the CPR or anything on the pitch. I don't know why that hadn't happened, but
Do you know what they do that a lot though, don't they? And I don't know. Again, are they in shock that like we would be, where you go, oh my god, what's going on? What's happening? That they forget that the decency there is to pan away and not show anything. But it's a tough one.
it's like Bolton player. Remember him?
Fabrice Muamba.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
remember watching that match on TV, and they cut away for ages. And I think I had my niece with me, and she was trying to work out why there was no football on. I was like, what do you say? Yeah,
Yeah, it's like you say, yeah, the amount of things we see nowadays when we're in crowds and people are having cardiac arrests and players that are fit having them, like it is mental. It is part of life. We get that, but like it's horrible. You don't ever want to. I mean, I'm a season ticket holder down there. The lad that sits behind me, him and his dad have been down there as long as I have, probably 10, 15 years.
yeah,
The one game, I can't even remember who it was, but we scored. Everyone's jumping up, and next thing I know, he's on the floor, and I'm just like, "Fuck, what's going on?" Jumped over my seat, and I was like, "Matty, move out the way," which is his son, and he was like, "Oh, my dad." I was like, "It's all right, mate. It's all right." I said, "I'm trained first aid, and not a problem." I said, "Just alert someone in, like one of the stewards, and get him up here." So like, he weren't talking, he weren't responsive. I've put him in the recovery position. I'm checking his airways. He's fine. I mean, to be fair, credit to the Villa Park staff. They got someone really rapid to us.
yeah.
got him out of the stands, got him down into the first aid room, and after the game, like I was walking out, and the first aider grabbed me. He's like, "Oh, he just wants to speak to you." I was like, "Yeah, sound." Got in there, and he's like, "I owe you." I was like, "You don't owe me nothing, mate." I said, "I'd do that for anybody." I said, "At the end of the day, you collapsed. I don't know why you collapsed." He said, "No one knows. I'm just having some tests. I've got to go to the hospital." I was like, "No problem." I said, "I've got Matty's number anyway." I said, "I'll get Matty to keep me updated." Like, but every time I see him now, he gives me a hug. He treats me like his son, and it's just at that moment where everyone else is just looking at him. I reacted quicker than anybody else did, and it was probably that saved his life. Is what the first aider said, and I was just like, "Do you know what? I'm glad that I didn't stand there going, oh, what's going on?" So,
Oh, fair play to you, mate. You know, yeah, there's a
but
lot of
no, just before we go,
yeah.
one for the listeners. For those that obviously we was talking about idolizing and heroes. So the definition of a hero is a person who is admired for their courage, outstanding achievements, or noble qualities. So my question to the listeners is, who is your hero in any shape of life? Obviously, I get people are going to say it'll be their mom, their dad, but again, they can be your heroes. Who is somebody that you would look up to in the sporting world? Please drop us your comments and let us know.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. So, yeah. Look, we haven't gone over an hour, mate.
I know,
Um,
first one.
so yeah. So we, like I said, this will be on YouTube as well, obviously, because you can see us, which is a bit weird. Louis actually does look like his picture, me. So,
I might have
um,
to pull the red shirt out next time as well.
that was good. That was like. I just want to
It
give a
was.
big, massive shout out to Lisa Williams as well, who did that our art for us. She was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, really appreciate that, Lisa. Thank you.
So yeah, guys, we're on YouTube. We're on Spotify. The actual page is now up on Facebook, as you probably guys have been seeing. It's actually growing quite nicely.
There will also be a TikTok coming soon of the best bits. So yeah, we are working in the background on sorting that out. So yeah, you'll be able to see the funny bits and the comical bits in a little snippet on TikTok soon.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, me and Louis will be back together some point early next week for the review of the British Grand Prix.
Exciting one.
I mean, I've got my McLaren shirt ready to wear for that podcast. Um, Actually, I've got a McLaren shirt and a Red Bull hat. So,
Yes. Well, when we do the review of the Grand Prix, we'll talk about the picture I sent you on WhatsApp as well, because that's actually got me really excited and then has really put a dampener on my week.
you went from my hero to my villain right there.
So the viewers, you're probably all guessing and wondering what we're going on about, but all will be revealed.
Yeah, don't worry. We'll somehow show you a picture of it. Um,
Yeah, God. Yeah.
Actually, there's a share button, so you could do that. So yes, guys, we will do the review of the British Grand Prix, whether it be good or bad. Sadly, I'm not going this year. Um, we will have to go together once and just go live or something.
Definitely. Do a
Um,
podcast live from Silverstone. There you go.
you can imagine that, can't you? Ah, it's a great view.
Yeah. Phone in the air, gone. Yeah.
So yeah, thank you for listening, guys, and thank you for watching, obviously. And once again, I just want to say to the condolences to Diego Jota's family and his mum, obviously, for losing both their sons. Yeah,
Just closing on that statement, guys that are listening, just remember, no, tomorrow is not promised. Make sure you take every risk possible. Hold the loved ones that you have near and dear tight,
yeah,
and just express how you feel to everybody. Life's valuable, it's important, and we never know when it's going to be taken from us. So live every day as if it's your last.
yeah. Life can be very good, but it can also be very cruel at the same time.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, thanks, guys, for listening and watching. Lou, thanks as always, mate.
No problem. Pleasure as always, and we'll speak to you soon.
See you
See you
later.
all later.